Welcome to the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast, your guide to understanding how to get out of the Wall Street rat race and start your own mailbox money lifestyle. Now, don't let these handsome Southern draws fool you. These financial minds are teaching our country to enhance savings, increase cash flow, and create passive income, all without the help of Wall Street. Are you ready to break through? Now here are your hosts, Russ Morgan and Joey Murray.
Welcome. This is the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Your host, Joey, the Italian Stallion Murray, joined as always by Russ, the Idea Guy Morgan. Russ, I got to say, I'm worn out, but it's a good worn out. Traveling to the Masters last week was fantastic.
I know you got your gear on, man.
Yeah.
You got your Masters shirt looking tight.
Got my Masters socks, got my Masters mug. I couldn't get enough.
You gotta coordinate like Boomerang, Eddie Murphy movie. Bring it back to you,
dude. There is no place on earth. This struck me while I was at the Masters. There's no place on earth where men line up in droves to go shopping.
To buy stuff.
They're like, please take my money, please.
Tell me how much money. Just ballpark it for me. What'd you spend?
Oh, I mean, upwards of $600 on accident, like quickly.
That was like five pairs of socks and 3 shirts or something?
I mean, I was sitting there with light bags compared to some of these guys coming out with like suitcases full. It was an unbelievable experience.
Well, historic, right? You had Tiger Woods winning for the first time in 11 years. The guy who made golf cool.
Yes, absolutely. This guy has 11 years of struggling. He finally redeems himself at this Masters. And I was there. I got to see him tee off on one of the practice rounds. I saw the guy practically take him out on
the TV.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that volunteer literally out of control, which I think is moving into the subject matter of today's podcast. Out of control, running, slipped, about pulled a Steve Bartman, kind of going to a Chicago Cubs reference there for those Cubs fans, listeners. I mean, literally almost took out his knee. And how would that have played out? That'd been pretty crazy.
Oh my gosh. That guy probably didn't get fired. He got thrown under the jail. Like, I mean, whew.
Yeah, you probably can't fire a volunteer, but he's
blackballed.
Yeah, he's not going to be back.
But let's talk about that for a second. Being out of control. That guy slips and falls, almost takes out Tiger because he's out of control. He's running towards something and he slips. Our business, we started it with all these grand hopes. We want more time, more freedom, more income. We see income leaking out the other end. We're a great technician at somebody else's business, making a portion of what we know we could. So we say, well, let's start a business. Let me hang my own shingle. And then what happens?
Then we become one of the most frustrated employees ever, right?
Potentially least paid employees.
A lot of times because we're working nights, weekends, holidays, and a lot of times for less money than we were making, and it becomes frustrating, and because we have not built out systems to make our business in demand and make our business passive.
Right. So think when you think systems, we're thinking E-Myth here.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Who hasn't read that book and been blown away? Like, man, this is great. But then how many of us actually have stepped into those and said, here's how I'm going to implement the E-Myth? I mean, you and I right now are in the process of doing that for our business. Yeah. And that's why we brought Justin on. Justin Harris of Congruence is our guest today to help us. He's the coach. He's the coach that's going to help us actually implement these things to get more of our brain space back. Like, it's not all about the money.
No, you say brain space. I say family time.
Yeah.
I know what the cost is to our work, and it is lack of time and being present with my family.
Present is if we could sum up the entire thing, the value of what we're talking about today is getting your present back, getting your time with the people you love the most, that you work the hardest for, and giving that time back to them.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in this just cadence of life where it's wake up, go to the office, do a job that I love, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I love talking to you every week. I love meeting with you every day. But at the same time, I go home, I finish the day, I'm wore out, and I'm not present with my family. And this is something that the things you're going to learn on today's podcast from Justin is how to create these systems and how to start thinking about making your business not just this active thing that we do, but how to turn it into passive. Because what we're trying to accomplish is mailbox money. And one of the best ways we can do that is through our businesses, but it's going to require systems. And I hope you're going to take away as much as we did from this interview. Let's jump in with Justin Harris.
Have you ever had the thought, I really am not saving enough for the future? And at the same time, you're sitting down to write an enormous check to the IRS every single year for $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 in taxes? Guess what? We just found the money that you should be saving, and it's been under your nose the entire time. Go to freetaxwebinar.wealthwithoutwallstreet.com and learn how the wealthy are paying less in taxes. You can implement these strategies so that the next check you write will be to your financial future and not to the IRS. Welcome into the show. We have Justin Harris of Congruence. Man, so glad to have you.
Man, thank you so much, Joey. Fired up to be here.
Yeah, this show today, if you're a business owner or thinking about becoming one, is going to be a show that you won't want to miss because Justin,
epic.
Your insight on what it takes to run a successful business, because you have a background in that, is going to be huge for our listenership. Justin, did you always think that you're going to be considered the business operations guru?
No.
Is that what you wrote in like kindergarten?
No, that wasn't like on my dream board, my vision board growing up. But man, I love it. It really does. I mean, I feel like if you cut me now, you're going to bleed a system, or a way to think about that. And just love it. Love the processes. Love to think about how do we do this better? How do we make it more efficient? How do we scale this thing?
Well, you had to spend some time envisioning what you want to be in life, right?
Right.
And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, man, how do I be a better business owner? It's got to start with systems. I mean, I read E-Myth like right out of the gate, and that had me fired up.
Yeah, I mean, it really is so much about that. I mean, as a business owner, if you're providing a service for someone else, if you don't have the right systems in place, ultimately all you've got is an ATM, right? Which is, I'm going to go put my effort in, I'm going to get $1 out of this service that I'm providing. But if you don't have the right systems in place, you can't build an asset, right? You can't have something that can grow and scale and build with you over time. And
that's a big difference.
Massive difference, and totally different mindset that you have to think that way.
Okay, hold on. I want you to break that down a little bit further. So somebody is a really good technician, using your conversation about the E-Myth. Somebody was at the top of their game at another company. They're being paid well, but they realize, man, somebody's skimming off the top of this deal. Like I'm just really valuable. I'm either the best salesperson at this XYZ company or fill in the blank. And they say, anybody can do this. I'm going to go hang a shingle. I'm going to go do my own deal. And they create, as you just explained, the ATM. Is that right?
That's right.
They create,
yeah, that's right. They create an ATM to where they can get paid for their service, and they may, if they're good, and if they can attract the right clients, get paid maybe a little bit more than they did wherever they were working. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Actually, most folks go out of business within the first 3 years. I think that's like maybe 2/3. So it's hard. And most of the time it's because, they really are just saying, hey, go back to the E-Myth. I can bake a really good pie, right? And people will pay me for this pie. But they get stuck because they realize that, man, I can only bake so many pies myself. And so what does that mean? I'm actually working more than maybe I did before. It's definitely more stressful. And they realize, they wake up, a couple of years into that thing, and they realize, man, I've created another really hard job for myself. And some of that control, some of the freedom, the ability to multiply their income, and to have some of that passive income maybe that they're looking for, it's avoided them, right? They're going like, wait, I'm confused, because it's not supposed to feel this way.
Well, it can be misleading, right? All of a sudden, you see maybe potentially higher numbers coming in income, potentially, right? And so that income's going up, but they don't realize their hourly wage is dropping.
Yep.
Because they're putting in so many more hours for a little bit more pay. You do the math. Then they wake. Is that kind of what you're saying?
That's exactly.
They wake up 3 years and they're like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah, they're like, "Wait a second.
Here?
What just happened?" Like I stepped into this because I am really good at what I do, providing whatever service that may be, but they realized that this didn't give me what I was hoping for, right? Like the business hasn't grown and created the asset that I was looking for. It's actually it just feels like a job.
Right? Yeah, when you leave the job, right? You leave as the employee and step into that self-employed seat. The motivations typically fall around like, I want more flexibility. I want more freedom. I want to be the one in charge. I want to be the head honcho, right? I want to be the one who can make all the decisions.
My own brand.
And I don't have anybody else telling me what to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pride in that. I personally have experienced that. But as you do that, unfortunately, there's things that you don't know that you don't know. I mean, here's a great example. I've dealt with this personally on my side. I've seen where I left and started a business. My wife left a job and started a business, and we've had two drastically different results, right? One of us figured out we actually hated being the owner. One of us really, really likes it.
Which one is which, by the way? Just for my own knowledge, I'm just.
But therein lies the challenge. So as you're talking to business owners, Justin, who want to have more control, who want more flexibility, but they are struggling internally, actually finding out that they've created, in some situations, a lower paying job that almost starts to feel like a prison, closing with the walls closing in on them. How do you help them address those issues?
That's a great question. Well, obviously we're here because we're talking about systems. So really, I think the systems are the solution. Like the system, building that and understanding how to build those around any type of business so that you can scale it. And it's going to do two things when you do that. Number one, it's going to really help you create that freedom and the control that you desire, right? Because if you build really good systems around your business, it's going to do a few things, right? It's going to give you better consistency at whatever you're trying to roll out, right? And so, it's the whole McDonald's fries, right? They're the same every time. Why? Well, it's because they've got a good system for cooking their fries. They know exactly how hot the grease needs to be. They know exactly how long they have to be in there. They have the right equipment in place to pull that off. And so there's a system that says, hey, we're gonna have consistency around this thing. When you do that, the second thing it also brings is increased productivity. So if I've got a system in place, guess what? Two people aren't doing the same thing.
Right.
So that means we're just going to be more productive. So because people are on top of themselves. And then the third thing is just accountability. It's like if I've got the right systems in place within my business, not only is it going to allow me to scale, but now it's going to allow me to really inspect what we're doing. Right. And so now I've got, we're more consistent, we're more productive, and I've got greater accountability, all because I've created a few systems to help me do this thing really well.
Now, hold on one second. I want to back you up a second. You said it's going to help us scale the business. So for that business owner who's hearing that and saying, man, I don't know if I want more of the same. How does what you're talking about even relieve some of that?
The ability to scale in a healthy way, it's not going to create, the goal in that sense would not to create more tension for you or more stress. It's to take it away. Right. And so it's really understanding the proper mechanisms that go into your business so that whenever you tweak those systems, it's having that kind of a mindset. Whenever you tweak those systems, it creates the outcome that you want. And so ultimately being more freedom, it's not more of the same, right? More of the same is I'm continually working more. There is more stress. Yes, I may can create a few more dollars if I work on the weekend, right? But that to me is more of the same. If you want to do it in a different way, what would it feel like? What would it look like? What would it give you to not work on the weekend and the business be working for you?
Well,
right?
that is the real goal, right? We start out leaving that employee seat, a lot of times not knowing what we really want.
Right.
We start out saying, man, I just want flexibility. I really want something that I can build and maybe hand down to my kids, or they can work in the business, or whatever that may look like.
Or more pay.
Right?
Whatever.
More pay.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, look at you. You're always thinking about money over there, man.
Hey,
Greedy money.
somebody's
grubber.
got to around here. We got a business. Just saying.
You see, that may be the initial like lower level thought that we have, but as we continue working, the idea of scaling and adding more pressures and problems to our life, we start thinking, no. But shouldn't that be our ultimate objective, is to say, how do I take my business, this active income I have, and turn it into something passive?
This is the holy grail, by the way. What you just said is absolutely, maybe you're not there. Maybe you're listening, you're saying, okay, I never have even really thought about my business as a possible passive income asset, not ATM, like you said earlier, Justin. But is that not the absolute holy grail of investments we could make?
Well, here's the thing. My wife and I have been thinking about finding a property that we could go live at maybe a couple months out of the year. That's not, and we're thinking August, September, right? Because here in Alabama, August, September is brutal.
Yeah.
Like, you just really don't want to be here. There's no purpose outside of like mosquitoes.
He's sweating through his shirt.
Yeah, I mean, it is not a nice
It's not
thing.
pretty.
And so we start looking at these desirable locations, but to buy a piece of property there and try to rent it the other 10 months out of the year, the math doesn't make sense. So she says to me, well, maybe we should buy something somewhere else and make enough money there so it can pay for us to be in the desirable location.
Hey, I like her thought process.
Yeah. And she said,
good on you, Megan.
She said, where would that place be? And I said, our business. And she kind of looked at me strange. But here's the thing, is that our business is the one investment and asset that we understand the most.
That's right.
If we can partner with guys like you, which that's why you're here, right? we're going to get some free advice, and we're going to have some paid advice later.
No pressure, Justin. Just you got to make him buy the house in Honolulu.
Yeah, that's the reason you're here. But the objective is really for us to find ways to move from that S quadrant and the cash flow quadrant of Robert Kiyosaki cash flow quadrant book into the B quadrant. When I leave for a month and I come back, the business is running better, not worse.
I can attest
Or
to
not
that.
at all.
If he wasn't here, it would be running better. We're done. Have we made it now? I mean,
Sounds good. I'll see you guys next month.
That's right. But I think, and what you're saying though, is that it accomplishes so many things, right? So it allows you to do really what you want to do. It allows you, it builds the asset. If you've got the right systems in place, you're going to create more freedom that you want. I mean, that's what we definitely want, that, a little more control. It's going to create the passive income that you're hoping for. And ultimately, when you do that, you are creating an asset, like we talked about, Joey. You kind of get out of that ATM mentality, which is, man, if I work really hard and produce a lot of widgets, then I'm going to make some money. But now you're turning it into an asset that you're building and growing over time that you can sell down the road if you want to.
okay, so let me stop you there for a second. I'm listening, and I'm not naturally the visionary. That's why it says Russ, the idea guy, Morgan. He's like the natural visionary.
Stallion. He's the workhorse in this place.
Yeah. Hey, that's
It
very
should be
fitting.
more like a pony, Shetland pony or something. But we give him the Stallion because it had more rocky connotation.
But somebody is maybe in the same boat as I am, and they say, "Man, sounds great, Justin. How in the world? Maybe they're stuck in the day-to-day grind, and they don't feel like there's any real bandwidth to be starting to think like this, or to vision cast this out and say, okay, how can I get to that point? Is there some sort of like a process that you put people through, or that you help them to start thinking like that? What would you recommend to that person?
Yeah. So we just teach a really simple business operating system at Congruence, and it's ultimately kind of boils down to really 3 stages that we want to help a business work through, that I think regardless of at what stage you are, most of the folks that I talk to are where I would call, like, maybe they're in this kind of a whitewater stage where they're feeling a little overwhelmed. And they really are sitting, the business is growing and they're feeling like, man, what now? I do feel overwhelmed. I do feel frustrated. I do feel stuck. Like, man, I'm
It's almost
in
like
job.
a breaking point.
That's right. That's right. They're really feeling that. So what now? So really, you want to walk through just 3 really clear phases to help somebody just from a process standpoint to do this. Number 1, hey, let's just take a step back and let's clarify just really what you want out of this, right? So what do you want out of this business? Where do you want to go? Let's clarify just some really simple priorities that you want over a 1 and a 3 year period. And then let's clarify, okay, now how are we going to measure that? How are we going to look at where that is, right? And so we're just going to get some clarity on where people want to go. So I need to understand that if I'm going to help them develop the systems they want to get what they want out of their business, or anybody is.
So when you're sitting down with the business, and you've been doing this for a while, right? This isn't your first rodeo.
That's right.
You've been around some businesses that have grown significantly in income, right?
That's right.
Give us a couple examples of how that
Yeah, so great. So great. The last 2 major business environments I've been in, kind of from a work career, the first was a business that grew like crazy within about a 12-year period. Went from 0 to about 400 million, in revenue. Went nationwide from a scale standpoint. Highly operational. It was a really large security systems dealer, and absolutely loved being there and being a part of breakneck growth and trying to balance a few things. Like, okay, how do we do this in a really, really clear way? How do we scale in a healthy way? And obviously a big part of that was just all the systems that we had to put into place. So just kind of experiencing, what does this look like at scale? What does a business that's operating in predictable success at scale look like? And then I said, after doing that for several years, said, hey, okay, at that point I was an employee, and was moving up the ranks and doing the whole thing, and it was very exciting. But I kind of felt that itch. Just like, man, I want to do this on my own. And so was able to help co-found 2 other businesses. So kind of going from this massive scale, what does this look like operationally at a big level nationwide, the whole thing, back to the basement, right? Yeah. And then going, okay, over the last 7 years, what does it look like to start 2 very different businesses, one a recruiting business and helping start another one that was a software as a service company, and watching those grow to scale from literally conception on whiteboard to, man, the right systems, the right people, predictable growth, predictable profit. And so being able to kind of sit in both of those seats, from the startup seat, seeing that, and then sitting in a larger business at scale, I feel like I've kind of experienced most of what everybody's going to experience at some point, at some level in their business, right? From startup to scale, and going, well, okay, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And how do we take one how do we go from the basement to what that looks like?
So when you did that, when you guys were sitting there in the basement, you're planning out that 1 to 3 year plan, how did that vision and strategy start to evolve and change to where, man, now we're starting to reach nationwide customers instead of like local regional customers? What does that process look like? So one of the steps you said is to really kind of envision that 1 to 3 year goal. Well, as we sit down, we need to, create that, but then it starts to evolve, right?
That's right. It's good, and it's going to continually evolve. So the first thing you do once you create real clarity around where you want to go, you do have to figure out how we're going to measure this, right? Like, so what are some really clear ways that we're going to measure our progress as we go? Because the great thing about that, when you do that, is it's going to tell you numbers. If you're really clear on how things are going to grow, those numbers are going to tell you what your problems are, right? And so from there, we first thing we want to do is clarify.
Your panel, like
that's
your
right.
Dashboard.
That's right. They're our dashboard. They're going to tell us, man, it's when the engine's hot. They're going to tell you, right, if it's going to overheat or what's going to happen. So from there, we go clarify first, then we align things. We get really clear on the problems that a business has to solve, and then getting the right people on the bus, all the people types of systems that you need to fix it, right? Because if you don't know the types of problems that are and opportunities that are facing your business, it's really, really hard to get the right people in the right seats in the right roles with the right focus.
If you don't know, they don't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's just so true. And so you need to be really clear on those things. And then from there, so clarify, align, and then finally, you just need processes in place so that you can execute in a really healthy way. What does that look like? Do you have the right plans in place? Do you have the right systems and processes in place? And then can you finally tell that story to the world and to your employees, right? So clarify, align, execute. We're doing that
I was
over
saying,
and over.
don't
It's
miss
really
that.
simple. Clarify, align, execute over and over and over again. Now, obviously, there's a lot more involved than just those things. But when I think about the process that we utilize, it's that. It's clarify, align, execute. Do that over and over and over again, so that way you can know where you're going. You can get your people rowing in the same direction, and then you can just get it done. I mean, so many folks just struggle to get it done.
Let me share also, when you walked us through this process, and we're still walking through it. It's not like we've, made it through here. But I think some of the secondary, tertiary benefits of us doing that is, I think going into this, I had people that work for us that are just unclear. They don't know where we're headed. And Russ and I are just those guys that are just going to be like, just stick with us.
Makes perfect sense in my head.
Right? Yeah.
Don't ask me about it yet.
Yeah. But for us to have a parking lot for them to be able to know, okay, this is where this idea fits in the process of our business, that's been extremely valuable. And being able to say, okay, this is our 90-day burn, right? This next 90 days, these are the only things we need to really focus on, because they're going to help us get to this 1 and 3 year goal the fastest. We've identified them. We've clarified it. Now we're aligning the team with that. And now it's just bang, it's off to the races. And you know how much more effective everybody's time and effort is? Nobody has questions anymore, right? That's I'm just sharing that from my perspective. Like, that has been a huge just mind space clearer, if you will. Is that even a word? Mind space clearer?
Mind space clear. Mind space is a word.
Okay.
Clearer is a word. Putting those together,
problematic. Okay.
I think there probably should be a couple other words in there,
but
that's okay.
Regardless, that's what it's been for me.
Yeah. Well, when we went through this, at that point, what Joey just said is that you kind of helped us think through what are those. You call them AIPs.
That's right. That's right.
And what does AIP stand for?
It's an action in progress.
Right.
Yep.
So there's these actions in progress that we need to be working on, and we stay focused on those. So how do you help people like me that struggle to stay focused? Wait a second, purple squirrel, right? and apply these actions in progress so that we actually make the last word progress.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what you guys are just talking about is I want to teach you guys, not just you and anybody that works with us, how to live in just a 90-day universe, right? And so it's so much easier if we take the year, we break it up into that 90-day universe, and we go, okay, if we want to reach one of these 3-year goals over the next 90 days, what are the most significant problems we need to solve and opportunities we need to take advantage of in order to get where we want to go? And then we break that down into those 5 to 8 actions in progress. So what are the most significant actions we can take over this next 90 days to make sure we're pushing towards what we really want out of the business between 1 and 3 years? And so it helps us stay focused, right? And it also, I think about the visionaries, the Russes of the world, they just know, man, all I got to do is hang on for 90 days, right? Because let's get this done for 90 days, and I get to share more ideas, right? all my team is asking me to do is not to bring some brand new rocket ship idea to the table for the next 90 days, and let's stay focused.
He's not going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. But we are going to have a parking lot for it.
That's right. That's
okay?
right. We have places
that's
for
what
those
I'm
things.
excited about. Did
that's
I say
right.
I'm excited about that?
That's right. We have places for those things to sit while we try to execute on what we're doing. And so really, I mean, ultimately, to help you guys do that, what are we going to learn? We're going to learn a couple different things. Number one, we're going to, you guys are learning about just a really simple way to think on the business. I think most tacticians, folks that are really good pie makers or really good service providers, sometimes struggle to back up and think on the business. And so just thinking about that whole clarify, align, execute process, just thinking about having a business framework. There's 8 kind of business categories that I help businesses think about to improve. Like, hey, if you think about these business categories and you're constantly improving them, then guess what? Your business is going to grow, right? Like you're going to get better. So there's as we're working through this 90-day universe, as we're kind of working through this process, it's like, man, there's a business framework. There's a way to think about the business. We're going to implement a really clear strategic meeting cadence to help make sure that we're staying on track. Every business needs that. And
wait a minute, every business needs a good, solid meeting structure.
Every business
they're
needs,
always so like on point. I mean, we never get off track.
Nobody
in a
ever
sales meeting or
nobody
meeting.
ever wastes time in meetings, right? No, man.
That's sarcastic.
I mean, we teach a couple of different types of meeting types that help you, just that guarantee you're going to maximize your meeting time and help you really strategically think about the business, and then make sure that the things that you've put in place are going to be executed. So that's critical, right? So you got to be able to think on the business. And so we've got the categories to do that. You need to be able to have a strategic meeting cadence to make sure you're executing well. And then you need some operating grids, like some really clear, simple tools to help you pull it all off. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're trying to get in shape or be better with your budget. You need all those things. You need a way to think about it. You need a strategic way and kind of calendar system to evaluate what you're doing. And then you need some practical tools to help make it happen, right? It doesn't matter if you're, with your budget, if you're using Mint or a Google spreadsheet, like, you need a tool to help you pull it off. So at Congruence, man, we utilize those things. We know that every business, every person, if you're going to implement something new and really push something from like conception and vision to reality, like, you got to have those three things.
So when you are walking business owners through this process, and first they may be a little bit overwhelmed.
That's right.
They're like, am I in the right position? Should I just close the door? Should I leave? Right. But no, I know there's a reason I want to do this. I want to start moving this. So as you start to see them, what is the point where you see the light bulb go off to where they start to get it, right? Once these strategies are implemented, what is that step that usually they go,
yeah,
I am fulfilling that objective, that goal that maybe I didn't even know is what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think two phases for me when I generally see light bulbs just go off like crazy. The first is if anybody's come to my workshop, we do quarterly workshops to kind of help get folks started, or go on site and do private implementations. But I feel like generally after that first day, and business owners have we've kind of taken all this stuff, this vision that's in their brains and all these desires, and we've clarified it in a really just really a one-page document almost. The relief that I see, and they're like, this is it. Like this. Yes, this is it. Like, this is it. This is where we want to go. This is exactly what I've been trying to get out for a long time. So that's number one. But then obviously, when you're developing those actions in progress and you're trying to take some really clear steps and you're trying to figure out what are our largest problems to solve, all those things, that can feel overwhelming. So whenever we come back 90 days later and they've been executing on these things and operating within the meeting structure, and then they come back the 9 days later and they look at it and like, hey guys, let's really look at how much you've gotten done. It is overwhelming to go, I never thought we could get that much done in that amount of time.
Game changer.
It has multiplied our ability to get things done. And I feel like when I think about spiritual gifts, right? Like for me, that's like a spiritual gift, like get things done. I mean, I'd probably use some other words, but like, so I love it, Yeah. And so whenever I see that happening with other people, it's really cool.
No, I think that it reminds me, there's a guy, Dan Sullivan, is a business coach out there. And I read a book that he talked about, and that measuring of things in reverse is so important, because sometimes as visionaries, as business owners, we set really high expectations. And as you said, it doesn't come out very clear. So when we went through that process that you talked about, at the end of that first day, my wife said, how was it? I was like, it was awesome. And she said, what did you get done? And I was like, let me show you the picture of what we did. Right. So I took a picture of of all that stuff that came out of Joey and I's head, right? Really 99% was mine. He sat there and looked at it and agreed.
Come on now.
No, that was not true. But it really was so valuable to get it out, to have it written. And how many of like those big, huge pieces of paper did we have on the wall?
Oh, yeah.
A ton.
Multiple.
But then when you get to be able to watch it over time and get to look back, right, and to measure that success so that you then can go, okay, we actually are measuring success. As the implementer, Joey's, as you know, a much more involved implementer than I am. I tend to run my mouth a lot, and he's the one that actually does stuff. So I know I kick him a lot on our podcast, but he's the muscle behind this thing. Well, I mean, we're working on the muscle. It's hidden. It's hidden behind a layer of cushion. But he is the muscle behind this thing. Maybe I'm the brains. He's the muscle. But it is, as we look at this and we measure backwards, I can see that. So I can see how that would be a light bulb moment for people.
Yeah, it totally is. And what's really cool is that what I'm excited about continue to work with you guys, but also as I work with other business owners, it's like, yeah, we want to clarify, align, execute ultimately, so that you can build the asset, not the ATM, so that hopefully you realize that, man, there's a lot at stake here from a freedom standpoint, from a stress level standpoint, from a, I don't know, most business owners probably listening to this can relate to just how much attention your business absorbs of your mind, right? Like you were talking about that earlier.
Being present.
So I think about attention as an asset, right? And so if when I'm with my kids, when I'm with my wife, if I've got some of these systems and structures in place, and I feel it allows me, it frees me up to be all there, and to me that's invaluable, because like what I long for a congruence is for that congruence as people implement this operating system. Like we exist to help business owners maximize their impact on the world, and so I know that for the Joey and the Russes of the world. If you can't give your full undivided attention and be present in those important moments of life and giving it to the things that you really want to give it to long term, you can't do that, right? And so,
what's the alternative?
Yeah, so
the alternative is,
I think, regret.
Absolute regret.
It's frustration.
It's like,
regret.
What was this all for?
Yeah, why did I do this? And so to me, it's like nobody wants to be there, right? Who, when they're 65, 70 years old, wants to look back and go, yeah, I built an ATM and I did make some money, and it's just kind of empty. Right?
Was I able to invest?
That's right.
In my family.
That's right.
The way I wanted to.
That's right.
I had high hopes.
That's exactly right.
If you can avoid the conversation of why are you working through dinner again, please get off your computer. Please stop sending emails. Like, that is success. When you're in that moment, avoiding that conversation.
Oh my gosh.
My father-in-law made a statement to me one day. He said, Russ, you will never regret helping coach your kids' sports teams. You'll never regret going and doing something with them. He says, I never look back on, man, I wish I would have made an extra $1. I wish I would have done something different instead of doing those things. And sometimes as business owners, that's really hard, right? Because we know that the business, there's so many people counting on us, not only our families, the people that work in the business, the consumers, the people that we're working with. And we feel that pressure sometimes. But the goal should be, how do we do that efficiently in a way that frees us up to spend more time? And I love this podcast because it is about being a business owner, but the reality is that most of the people that are listening to this love the concept of creating mailbox money.
That's right.
Creating something passive.
Right.
And most businesses are not passive in any shape or form.
And they won't get there if you keep doing the same thing.
That's right.
They need adjusting.
Absolutely.
So
what could somebody do today, Justin? What's a practical step they could take? Maybe you have something you can give away. Maybe it's some way to just contact you. Help us understand.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do right now would be just to go to congruence.com. That's just our website. And there's two things. Number one, there'll be a pop-up there. Just sign up for the newsletter. I'll send you a really free practical tool to help you just think about your business and where you are. And then there's also a couple other free tools on there that you can some videos and a couple other grids that you can utilize. There's one on there for hiring and promotion. It's just free. You download it, utilize it for as a really clear system, easy system to utilize to help hire and promote within your business. You need those because ultimately, I really think if you want to scale your business, if you want an asset, you need 4 types of systems. You need the right people systems in place. You need the right operational systems. That's what you normally think about.
Mm-hmm.
You need the right strategy systems, which that's how do we clarify and prioritize what we're going to go after. And then you need execution systems. How are we going to just get this done, right? How are we going to hold people accountable? How are we going to make sure? So you need those 4 types of systems if you want to scale a business, if you want to build an asset. And again, I think going to congruence.com, like I said, signing up for the weekly blog, the newsletter there, I'll send you a free tool to help you get started.
Well, I can tell you firsthand, I'm so excited about what you're doing to help us take this active business to be passive, but to be able to help more people, right? Because the goal for us is, as we're talking to people who are really frustrated with the way that the world, Wall Street, the banking system is working, and they want freedom from that. We want to be able to help them have access to more people, not just Joey and I. Because if it's just Joey and I, there's a limit to how many people that ultimately can be helped. And we're building partnerships and an ability to be able to do that. And you are strategic in that. So thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for listening to the show. Definitely check out the show notes and get access to some of these free takeaways that Justin's given with us.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.